to the rescue. See true to the rescue. Hey, see true to the rescue. Hey.
Every time you turn the TV, you see gays, man. True. Kids ain't supposed to see this at this early age, man.
It's the kind of song that makes a man love a man, a man love a man, a man love a man.
Every time you turn the TV, you see gays, man. True. Kids ain't supposed to see this at this early age, man.
Beginning in 2005, our son Jacob was going into kindergarten, and he came home with a diversity book bag. And in the diversity book bag was a book entitled Who's in a Family by Robert Scutch, and that introduces children to same-sex households.
Now, wait a minute, let me be clear. Your son is in kindergarten.
Yes.
And he was given a book about homosexuality and marriage?
Yes.
After the diversity book bag came home, we realized that the intention of the administrators and teachers was to affirm these relationships and gay marriage in the minds of children. When we went into the school, what we requested is parental notification when these issues are brought up by adults within the school, and the option to opt our child out of this type of indoctrination.
Said we didn't think, number one, it was appropriate to discuss that with our 5-year-old, and that if we ever felt it was necessary to have that discussion with our son, we would choose the timing and the manner in which to discuss it with him. And then she said, well, she had checked with the administrators and they had said that this was not a parental notification issue, and in fact that any adult in the school could discuss homosexual families and homosexual issues with our children.
One of the reasons they give is they said same-sex marriage is legal in Massachusetts. Therefore, we can broach it anytime with your child. And when they are putting forward that it's equal, they're putting forward that it's a morally equal alternative and affirming it in the minds of children. Now, these are young, impressionable children, and they know very well that there are many parents that do not hold these beliefs. But irrespective of that, in an intolerant manner and in an aggressive manner, they are putting forward that we as parents do not even have the right to know what they're saying to our children.
Often seen marching in homosexual parades is the sexually deviant group NAMBLA, some of whose members are associated with the teachings of Aleister Crowley. Like Crowley, NAMBLA emphasized homosexual sex, including sex with little boys. NAMBLA actually stands for North American Man-Boy Love Association. Sadly, many homosexuals are preying on the little children. In fact, nearly 60% of homosexuals claim that they were molested by another homosexual while they were children.
As I look back, I see that the devil deceived me, and he deceived many, thousands and thousands of others into believing that we could be happy. You know, that's the deception, that this is a happy life. This is a gay life. This is a gay pride. We are happy. None of that is true. None of that is true. I began to organize social events for lesbians of color at the time. Myself and I had 2 other business partners, and we were a perfect fit. We would rent restaurants and invite women to come and sort of amass a mail list. And women would come from all over the region. And on any holiday night, the group was called Hospitality Atlanta. It would not be odd to have 700 to 800 women exclusively packed into a beautiful restaurant we hired police at the door and would not let a man in. And from those events, we had softball leagues and softball teams, and major, picnics and whatnot. It was just a great, at that time, we thought, organization. We made a lot of money. And we did that for nearly 10 years. And when we got older and decided we didn't want to do it anymore, decided, well, what are we going to do with this mail list? And from that mail list, I decided to launch a magazine. the gay and lesbian political community began to pay attention to the fact that we could bring numbers of black lesbians and gays together through the work that we were doing. And then when the magazine was launched, surely we began to get contacted by HRC, Human Rights Campaign, and the Victory Fund, and many of the gay organizations who are doing a lot of work right now. And it was a very important part in the early 90s of the work that they were doing, because at that time, they were being told by local politicians and regional politicians and national politicians that, okay, you guys are a group of rich white gay men, and you want us to change laws just for you. No, we don't see a coalition of people here. So it was important then to be able to raise up or show a Charlene Cawthorn or a Venus magazine to say, oh no, there's a huge, vibrant black gay community. Look at that through the pages of Venus magazine. So we were an important part of what they were trying to present. The strategy is always to get one little foot in the door, when in fact, the plan means we're going to take over the whole thing. Well, why don't we just get a statement, Mr. School Board President, in your school board policy that you simply acknowledge the fact that we will not fire a gay teacher, or that there may be some gay students that we're going to be okay with, not trying not to be prejudiced toward them through our policy. We just want one little statement in the booklet, when in fact the plan is to take over the whole school system, as we see now 15 years later is happening. There's always just, that's the strategy, just to get in under the wire, and then once you get enough of our people in, then to do some major work. I was asked to help with domestic partnership, get the domestic partnership bill passed in Atlanta, Georgia. And they helped to train me to go in and speak with council people and to speak with the mayor. And of course, they chose not only people of color, but also people who were landowners. Of course, I owned a home at that time. And people who had a good, strong voting record. That was also very important. And so we would go in under the wire. And basically what we were trained is that don't talk to anybody else about this. All we want to do is get in, talk to the council people. We don't even want the church folk to understand that this vote is coming up soon. We want to be able to fill the auditorium on vote day with all gay and lesbian landowners so that the politicians will say, my God, we kind of have to do this. That's the strategy. That's the strategy. They were able to infiltrate media. And even people, I look at people who started out even with my small publication. People who started out with Venus magazine and were able to take, tear sheets from our book, are now working for some major newspapers, working for Bloomberg, working for the New York Times, working for Condé Nast. And so it's so true. It's like they gays and lesbians run major media in this country. They just do. And I'm not sure how many, if the church really, well, maybe the evangelical church realizes that, but gays and lesbians really are at the forefront of major media decisions. And so then sitcoms, every sitcom, I've heard that every sitcom is going to have a gay character, and it's coming true. It really is. And of course, now gay characters have major talk shows. They really have taken over media. Why? Because media speaks directly into the minds of young people. And that's how you change society, by changing the mind of the youngest person.
Infinitely more effective at shaping behavior and expectations than alcohol and religion, television is the most powerful weapon of psychological warfare in history.
In consumer news, economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors
may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some of the spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take the spring out of the step of the Easter Bunny this year.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting the feeling that economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny's step this year. Look, guys, obviously this is no coincidence. The question remains, where are all these news stations getting their scripts from? Well, there are affiliate news services that supply packages and scripts to hundreds of stations around the country. Stations then have their anchors read the canned story with the generic script. Consider the implications of this kind of reporting for 1 second. Say it wasn't an Easter bunny, and rather the story being mindlessly regurgitated was about a virus, a terrorist attack, or a report on war casualty counts. The bottom line is that people who watch the news tend to trust this information that then influences their perception and decisions.
Are they going to be able to get somebody up here? Well, of course, man. We're coming up to you. Well, there's no one here yet, and the floor is completely engulfed. We're on the floor, and we can't breathe. Okay. And it's very, very, very hot. Okay. All I see is smoke. Oh, please. I'm going to die, aren't I? No. I'm going to die. Man, say your prayers. And we're going to think positive because you got to help each other get off the floor. I'm going to die. It's so hot. I'm burning up. Hello! Help! Hello, ma'am?
A small group of women called the Jersey Girls, who lost their husbands in the 9/11 attack, basically forced the Bush administration through public pressure to form a 9/11 commission, which was reluctantly charged with preparing, quote, a full and complete account of the circumstances surrounding the September 11th attacks. Their account turned out to be not so full and complete. The commission, now known to many as the 9/11 Omission Report, left out many obvious facts, including the fact that a third building in the World Trade Center complex completely collapsed that day, and it wasn't even struck by an airplane. Described as being damaged in the attack, which started fires on several floors, the 47-story steel-framed federal office building known as World Trade Center 7 collapsed in 6.5 seconds at 5:20 p.m., more than 7 hours after the second Trade Center tower fell. And speaking of Building 7, the BBC conducted a live report in which reporter Jane Stanley announced that World Trade 7 had collapsed. There was just one small problem with the report. Building 7 was still standing in the background as Stanley was reporting that it wasn't standing. Matter of fact, Building 7 wouldn't collapse until 20 minutes after the report of its collapse. This is the Windsor Hotel in Madrid, Spain. On February 12, 2005, a fire broke out on the 21st floor of this steel-framed 32-story building. The fire blazed for 23 hours, gutting large portions of the building. And while some of the floors crumbled away in the flames, the steel structure's skeleton remained standing. In comparison, the South Tower burned for a mere 56 minutes on far fewer floors before it completely collapsed. And the North Tower burned on relatively few floors for only 102 minutes before it experienced complete structural failure. Building 7, which wasn't even hit by a plane, only burned for 6 or 7 hours. So to recap, the Windsor Hotel burns for 23 hours on many floors and remains standing. World Trades 1 and 2 burn for less than 2 hours and yet experience global symmetric freefall collapse. World Trade 7, by the way, was the largest CIA headquarters outside of Langley, Virginia, and housed offices involved in several large-scale federal investigations into massive stock market and accounting fraud. Building 7 was the first to be cleaned up and the evidence destroyed at Ground Zero.